Oh, we're live.
Hey.
Okay, so this is a lifelong dream of mine to do the 90210 podcast.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I finally found a co-host who was 3.
I was 3
when the pilot aired.
When the pilot aired, I was 3 years old.
Were you watching it then?
I hope not.
Okay, didn't think so. All right. So I was a freshman in high school when this came out. She was 3. So we're going to have some different perspectives. So this is kind of like your first time truly diving into the realm of this, correct?
It's my first time doing any of this. Yeah. This is, I have to say, I was not super impressed with the pilot episode.
We're going to get into that in a minute. So I'm Zach.
I'm Shonda.
We were going to come up with nicknames. That didn't happen.
We're not very good at this yet.
No, we don't even have a name truly for the podcast. So it started off with 902 when we don't know at this point. So we
think we should just go with it.
We also have the neighbors joining us. I'm just going to call them the neighbors. They're here in the background, cracking up probably at this and laughing at us because we have no clue what we're doing.
But we've got notes.
We have lots of notes. So basically what this podcast is going to entail is we're going to recap every episode.
Episode by episode.
Episode by episode. And there's so much to learn. So as a lifelong fan of the show, as you will determine, there is so many life lessons every week in this show. Probably not in the pilot.
I certainly hope so, because the pilot was pretty bad.
I'm a little embarrassed to say that I'm a fan because it's been a while since I watched the pilot, and there were some things that actually really made me mad.
Okay, so why don't you start?
So we're going to start off with this.
Because this was pretty rough to watch.
There was a lot going on. So the pilot starts immediately with Brandon Walsh, one of the most main iconic characters of this series.
I haven't even watched the show. I've never watched the show. And I knew who Brandon Walsh was.
Exactly. And he is waking up to a creepy ass alarm clock.
Literally have that. Worst alarm clock ever. Worst ever. Wake up. Why do you want to wake up to that?
And it was a weird like King Kong like ape
with a claw.
Ape with a weird claw. Like it made no sense. And yet it was waking him up. I have never seen that alarm clock in my life. And I grew up at that time. So I'm a freshman in high school. I had an alarm clock. Like everyone had cool alarm clocks at that point. Like there was like the hamburger phone, and you could get like the football phone from ESPN magazine, and there was like all this crazy stuff. I know you don't have any clue what I'm talking about. But I never once have ever seen, other than that pilot, that stupid alarm clock. So if I'm wrong, for the tens of you listening, tell me. But
and by 10, I think you mean 1.
Maybe. And then he wakes up and says, "First day of school, strange city, no friends.
No friends.
I'm psyched."
But I got one for you. Maybe you notice this. This was the first thing that I've got.
Oh boy.
When the very first opening scene, it flashes to his door and it pans the room, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a sign on the door and it says taxi parking EADT.
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 Maybe somebody Google this.
EADT. No idea, because they're from Minneapolis, as we find out later.
Yes.
They moved to Beverly Hills.
Yes.
None of those have EADT. So.
Also, by the way, there's boxes everywhere still full. Yet the alarm clock was hung on the wall, and so was that sign. Yet everything else in the room is still in boxes. Hey, stop! Get up here! Come here! He's joining.
Guest star.
Guest star.
He
was a big
guest
fan.
star Brett. So
yeah, it was that there were so many weird things going on in that beginning scene. So there was that. Then they go to Brenda, who is also one of the most iconic characters. She is,
and her room's worse.
Oh,
her
her room
is
is
way worse.
yeah. She has a wardrobe she's going through. I don't know how.
Yeah,
and says she has no clothes because she's from Minneapolis, and they're
doesn't make any sense.
And they're in Beverly Hills, so she doesn't know what to wear.
Right. Speaking of that, so here's one of the things that I noticed about like character development. So Brandon's worried, obviously, by his sarcasm. No friends. Psyched. Brenda's worried about not having any friends, but she thinks that having the right outfit will make them for her.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny because the two of them are going through a little conundrum of Brandon seemed to be the popular one in Minneapolis who had all the friends because she makes the comment.
Yes, I have that later on in my notes.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll tie to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I thought let's just keep going. Oh, Jim Walsh. Just randomly at the table eating breakfast, here's on the news, it's gridlock in Los Angeles.
And then leaves.
And then goes, it's going to be gridlock, and just gets up and walk out. It was hilarious. That was his intro.
I think I'm going to use that for future reference if I ever...
Yeah, it's...
Gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Gridlocked on my 20-minute drive to work.
Yeah, it was...
But, okay, so I've got a friend, somebody that I work with. He's from California, right?
Yes.
And he told me that when he would go to work, this is totally separate from the episode, but when he used to try to drive to work, I believe he lived in the San Francisco-ish area, and it would take him 2.5 hours one way to get to and from work because the traffic was so bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a uncommon thing for there to be gridlock. Just found it to be really interesting.
Have you ever been to California?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you?
Once. I was 8.
How was it? A lot of traffic?
It was hot.
All right. So, anyway, they go through basically like the intro of all of them getting ready for the first day in California. So this is like basically the first day they're in California. They're making it seem like, which again is weird that there's things hung up on the wall, but whatever. And then they cue to like the intro with Rodeo Drive, which I thought was awesome because they cue Rodeo Drive and it's got to be 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And there's people shopping.
I'm wondering if you're going to say the same thing I'm going to say. So continue.
So
I'm waiting for
there's
this.
People shopping, full out mini skirts and dressed up and the whole it was so bizarre. I'm like, what is happening right now? And it was basically like, how can we make California look the most ridiculous we could possibly make it? Or maybe for me looking at it now, it looks ridiculous. But back then it was probably like, how can we make this look as cool as possible?
I'm going to ask my California friend because I need to know if this is accurate or not, right? What's up with the lady with the 4 shopping bags and the surfboard walking down Rodeo Drive? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
No. Because I'm pretty sure she's in a full body dress thingy. She's not in high heels. You're not going to the beach, and you didn't just buy that surfboard. There's no fucking way.
Maybe it was a gift. Maybe it was a birthday present. No. Okay.
No. I thought that whole intro in Rodeo Drive was ridiculous.
It was pretty bad.
It was bad.
It was pretty bad.
Oh God.
Oh, here's a little tidbit
Yeah.
about Jim Walsh, right? Before he leaves.
Yes.
Going back to that,
Mm.
pretty sure his tie matches the sheets on Brandon's bed.
I am going back to look at that because I'm
pretty sure his tie matches the sheets almost exactly. Same color scheme, same pattern.
That's very, very possible. I also think it might have matched his suspenders, but I could be wrong there.
Very possible. Very possible.
Yeah, it may sound like we're kind of bashing the show. I'm actually a huge fan, but the pilot was bad, so this is going to continue. I'm sorry. The pilot, I don't know how this show made it past the pilot.
I watched the whole thing can't figure it out either.
As long as we're on.
But
the same
I'm
page.
committed now. I'm doing this for you, and maybe I get to learn some life lessons in the mix.
Oh, you will for sure. It gets.
I will.
Hang in there,
Okay.
because it's gonna be awesome.
Okay.
Trust me. So anyway, they go through that, and then believe it cues the everyone arriving at school that day,
Yes.
and there's valet parking,
Yes.
which, by the way, I'm almost 100% sure never shows up again in the entire show, which is a theme, by the way. And we're going to talk about this.
Valet parking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think valet parking ever shows again at school. Maybe somewhere else, but not at the school, not at the high school. I don't think it comes up again. So I'm kind of curious. To see if that shows up.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for that because I did not pick up on that.
Well, it's only the first episode. Did you see the valet parking?
I did.
Yeah. I
did.
don't think it comes up again. I love how Brandon and Brenda are rocking a Chevette, which I think might potentially also be the only time that car is shown. I may need to Google that.
So here's the school thing, right? So they're leaving for school.
Yes.
Here's another thing that I caught. So Brenda's all super worried about what she's gonna wear, and she's like, "I need to pick out like the coolest outfit so I can make friends and blah 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 blah." Did you see what she left? Do you know what she dressed in?
I didn't pay that much attention. What?
Beige on white with jeans. The most basic outfit you can possibly go with.
Yeah.
The most basic outfit. And so when we get to school, we see that literally almost everybody has colorful outfits on.
Yeah, and I think Brandon had like a jean shirt.
It was like striped.
Or striped shirt with jeans, like pretty basic too. Like they were really, really trying to make them fish out of water.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yes.
And that's where I said that. So Brenda kind of had the, I can't wait because I'm going to. This is a time to reinvent myself.
I have that.
Wait,
yeah.
I'm gonna reinvent myself, and you were the popular one, and this is my turn to reinvent myself because nobody knows me here.
And she picks beige on white.
Yeah.
Did they not have fashion magazines? I mean, the fashion back then was terrible. Anyway.
Well, to be fair, you couldn't just like Google this, but maybe the magazines were packed still.
So I've got a picture of myself. I'm 3 years old, right? I've got a picture of myself at this age, and it was my aunt had made me a sweater, a white sweater, but it had patchwork socks. So why socks? I don't know, but I specifically remember this outfit, and they were all in bright colors. And I'm thinking, you couldn't find a sock sweater to wear with some bright colors on it. You had to go with the beige.
She just didn't know. She didn't know.
I live in Michigan. I had a sock sweater.
I don't know. I have nothing. I got nothing.
I had a sock sweater.
There's just so many bad things.
Heck.
So they continue as everyone's arriving, and they're introducing all the main characters as this is happening. Kelly pulls up in her convertible BMW.
Almost hits David. Honks at him.
And he's like, "Oh my god!" And she could care less. And then her big intro is to talk about the nose job she got, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, it took a yard off. Is that what he says? Steve
says something. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because we meet Steve at that time.
Took a yard off, and he's like totally in love with her, and that's what you come up with to say. So as somebody watching the show for the first time, I probably relate to Steve the most.
Really? See, we didn't get into this. I'm curious. So you're relating to Steve the most.
Yeah. Awkward.
A little.
Always says the wrong thing.
Oh, completely.
Thinks he knows what he's doing, but actually doesn't.
Yeah. Got wasted at the party. That was my entire high school life.
So, not the main character of the show. I am Steve.
Yeah. So I always thought I always wanted to relate to like Brandon or Dylan, even though he doesn't even show up in the pilot. No, there's no Dylan in the pilot, which is fascinating actually. But I'm more David. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, I think well, other than the enthusiastic part about coming to high school as a freshman, that was not.
Who liked going to high school as a freshman?
No, I was more David as he grows through high school, but I was probably like Scott the first day, like where Scott.
So I think this is like super important. How many kids did you go to high school with?
Oh, we had quite a few.
Okay, I went to high school with 300. So in the show,
like total.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the show, they talk about having 1,800 kids, and there's one point where they're like referencing a party, and they talk about having 1,800 kids. It's about 500 kids a class, because and I did the math because when they were talking about the party later on, which we'll get to, she says everyone's invited to this party, and then it says no freshmen, and then Kelly says, "Oh, make that 1,300." So I'm averaging 500 kids a class. That was bigger than my high school.
That was my high school. We had about that. It was probably about 400 to 600 per class.
Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. Do not relate to these people whatsoever.
However, the financial demographic was a tad different at my school than what was portrayed in this one.
I'm gonna have to say mine was as well.
Which I thought was funny. Like they kept showing all these like cool cars showing up. Like everybody's rolling up in Mercedes and BMWs and like really nice cars. And then they for some reason kept highlighting the kid with the moped, which I thought was hilarious. Like,
and I thought the same thing. And you know why? So he had a parking sticker on the side that said West Beverly High. Yeah. So you know exactly where they're going. Yeah. Well, I don't know why they put it on a moped.
I thought it was odd for the moped, but
maybe because traffic's gridlocked and that's the only way you can get around.
Yeah. He was lane splitting, rolling down the 405. I think that's in LA.
Running over the lady with the surfboard and the bags. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Steve's license plate for a minute, because maybe you can explain this to me.
Do you know what it means?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. I have it in my notes. It's my favorite thing, because that little fact, he keeps that license plate through all of this.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So do you want to know what it means?
Well, let's tell them what it says first. So it says I, number 8, A, 4, R, E.
Yeah.
Which I determine means I ate a Ferrari.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's a Corvette guy.
Got it.
So he is a Corvette guy, true and true. The one thing that they hit for the pilot that I believe stays through the entire show is
I ate a Ferrari.
He always has a Corvette, and it always has the license plate, I ate a Ferrari, basically meaning that he drives an American Corvette and will smoke Ferraris, which is probably not true. But
I'm not a car person, so I'm just going to take your word for it.
Yeah. Because I don't think he ever has like a ZR1 or like a souped up one. He usually just has a stock Corvette, which I think lining up against a Ferrari, most of them would probably not go well, but I can be completely wrong.
So here's the other thing I got, which comes into play when we're talking about like Kelly and she gets introduced to Steve, or we introduce them into the show, Steve and Kelly, and they're having that whole dynamic. Mm-hmm. So Steve says, I'm the guy that taught you how to work the clutch. Right. But I find that I didn't catch on to that until I watched the episode later, watched later into it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's actually really funny because of what happens later in the episode with Steve's car.
Yeah.
Because it was a continuous theme with Steve and like the way that he pulls into the parking lot, he's driving all crazy. Okay.
Yeah, his car throughout the entire show is always his thing. The Corvette actually has very many storylines throughout this, which is hilarious.
Steve, yeah, it's pretty much my luck. This is why I relate to him. I drive like Steve. Also, well, we'll get to this. Okay. We'll get to this story later.
Let's keep talking about this intro to the school, because it went on for quite a while.
It was a long time.
And there was a point when they pan, like they're introducing characters, they're doing all these things, and then they pan to this weird dance montage that's happening
in the schoolyard.
in the schoolyard, and they're all like doing the same dance. It's
and nobody knows.
completely ridiculous. I don't even think it matched the music that was playing at the time. Like, it made no sense.
I didn't dance
Nobody did
in my schoolyard.
ever.
So I didn't know if it was like a generational thing.
No,
or if
we
it was
didn't
a-
do that back then either. I don't ever remember like
Okay.
walking up to high school at that point in time and seeing people dancing in the parking lot or anything like where they put together like a living room routine and were like, check this out, and did it. Like, no, that just didn't. I don't ever remember that happening. I think that's a common theme though in high school movies or shows and movies.
So, like, where do people from Hollywood come up with this stuff? Because it's not a legitimate thing. Like,
Well, I think everybody truly wants that to happen. It just never does.
like some musical number when they're
It's kind of like the
when
same
they're
thing.
walking into high school.
Like every time they show like a high school dance, like people know how to dance. That's not ever the case.
Nobody knows how to dance.
No, nobody has.
And
a
it's
fucking
awkward
clue.
in high
There might be
school.
like one or two people that know how to dance, but not everybody knows how to dance. And in every movie, when there's a high school dance, everyone for some like has taken classes or has rhythm, and that's just not how this works.
It's not. I think that there's like the staple 2 or 3 good people, like dancing people at a school.
Yeah, there's a couple.
There's a staple,
There's definitely a couple. Now,
but you don't have more than 4.
I like to think it's different in West Beverly, but I fear it's not.
I don't. I highly doubt
just
that it
don't
would
think
be.
it is. I don't think you know who you are yet, even as a dancer.
I don't think you know who you are yet at 16.
No.
So,
And I thought that was odd.
so then as they're going through the school, right? So they get introduced to the principal or whoever it is, school counselor.
Can we
principal.
talk? Can we talk real quick before that? Because I think
Yeah.
this happened before they actually went in. Was all the teachers like? It was the most ridiculous
Pulling
setup
in?
ever.
The teachers
all the
pulling in.
teachers pulling up in the shitty cars,
And they're miserable.
and they're like miserable, and they're all disheveled, and like
the guy with the Volkswagen,
there's a guy in a
Volkswagen van.
Volkswagen van,
and he gets out and he's
and a
like,
Pinto. There was a Pinto. And I'm like, how are these people affording to live in Beverly Hills as it is? Like, I feel like they would have
No,
more money,
they're-
even though they're teachers.
they're
but
pissed because they're driving the 2.5 hours to get to work
This
every
could
day.
be, yeah.
They don't live in
Oh my
Beverly.
God,
They live in
yeah.
like the suburbs. of
Yeah,
Beverly.
it was. Yeah, and then so yeah, then you cue Brandon and Brenda with the principal.
Yeah. So they meet the principal. They're super successful,
Yes,
and apparently
lots of accolades.
and apparently Minneapolis doesn't know how to do anything from my gist of what the show is spelling out. So
I thought it was odd.
wasn't me, Minneapolis. And so they're walking through the high school, and Brenda says, "I don't want to look like some geek without any friends." So Brenda's obviously super worried about this. Like, she doesn't have any friends. She's
Yes.
going to a new school, and she's looking to Brandon to be like, "You are the cool one." That's how I picked up on that. You are the cool one, and you need to make sure that you hang out with me so that I'm not left behind.
Yes.
But it comes into play later too,
Oh, role reversal.
and it's like,
Brenda gets friends right
WTF.
away.
yeah,
She ends up with friends right away, which I thought was funny because the part that I thought was really interesting, I think that there is not a chance this would happen in a show today. But Kelly chooses Brenda as her lab partner, so she doesn't have to be with
Yes.
the weird,
and
like
that I
the
have a note
weird
on that.
ugly chick that was walking in, I guess.
I have a note on that. So, but before that, I have a big
Oh,
note on
yes,
that.
please.
So before that, during the intro, there's this girl. She's got a skin tight green dress on,
Oh,
like
God,
no
yes.
shoulders. She's
like,
tugging it down.
Tugging it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Okay,
terrible.
so when they're leaving the office of the principal,
Yep.
Brenda and Brandon walk out, and this lady walks. I'm assuming it's a teacher or something. She walks this guy in, and she says to the principal, "Can you explain the new dress code to this guy
Oh,
about
where
leather? So you will allow skin tight bandage clothing with no arms, just there. It's there, but you won't allow a leather jacket." with studs on
Where did that guy come from, by the way?
because he didn't fit into the rest of anything.
Yeah, and once again, there was never another person dressed anywhere remotely like that throughout the entire show.
No.
That guy, all of a sudden, they just brought him in randomly. I don't even know why. There were so many things in this pilot that I was not happy. I was like, what were you? Why? I just don't understand. It didn't need to be there.
It didn't. It made no sense to me, and I was
No.
hoping maybe you could explain, like, were there actual people like that back in your day?
I mean, there were. Ouch. Yes. I mean, kinda. I mean, I don't know. There was nobody to that. Jesus, dog. There was nobody to that extreme. I don't think. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we had like the headbangers that were like into metal and wore, I suppose, leather jackets and stuff and had long hair.
So I kind of
And they
feel like
smoked on the corner by the hospital.
we should explain people that were from Michigan,
Yeah.
which is actually
Pretty
feel
close to
pretty
Minneapolis.
similar.
Yeah.
Pretty similar to
It's
Minneapolis.
the Midwest.
So we're like Brenda's friends from the outside. We're looking at,
Kinda,
we're
yeah.
like, dude, what are you doing out there? What are you doing out there?
Yeah, I mean, nobody ever.
And I have the best note on that later. The
I
best.
can't wait.
Okay.
Can't wait.
So
We're
about
just gonna
that,
move on. There's
yeah.
so many things about the intro.
the girl in science class, though, right? So she walks in and nobody wants to sit with her.
Nobody.
Why? Is she mean? Is it just because she's heavier set? Like,
This is what I'm saying. This could never happen in today because everyone would look like a complete asshole and be canceled because how dare you do that? And she I don't know what, because she again never shows up.
right? Nobody knows who this.
So there's zero background. Like, is she an asshole?
Yeah,
I don't know
does
this.
She just suck
Does
as
she
a
like?
human being?
Does she beat people up?
Maybe. And then, so this is the thing that I found interesting about that. The teacher literally said, choose with care. Whoever you pick to sit next to is going to be your partner for the rest of the year. And
Yes.
Kelly looks at some girl that she doesn't even know, she's never seen before, and she says, you're sitting with me.
Is it because Brenda's a little easier on the eyes?
Maybe. That's a good
Plus, it makes a
possibility.
good storyline. I mean, they have to meet. They have to meet somehow, but it was again another weird way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was very, very bizarre to me. Like, choose carefully. I don't know you, but you look okay.
Yeah, I'll take my chances with you.
As opposed to the girl who may or may not beat people up.
Yeah. Hey, beige girl.
Yeah.
Hey, really plain, weird looking beige girl.
Sit with me.
You sit with me because I don't want Big Dolores.
So literally that other girl must be the worst.
She must be. Like, there must be a story there. I wish they would have told it. But they didn't.
So then we go to Spanish class, and nobody knows what the hell's going on.
That I can relate to.
I was gonna say the same thing.
I took French for 4 years. I didn't know a word of it.
Who, besides people who speak Spanish fluently, can sit in Spanish class and have the teacher speak to them in total Spanish? And she's like, raise your hand if you don't know what's going on. Would that doesn't make any sense to me. Raise your hand if you don't understand anything I'm saying.
And everybody just kind of goes,
Well, yeah, but it's because Andrea raised her hand.
yeah.
So Andrea raises her hand, which as we get into her later, obviously she's super smart. She studies a lot.
It's also Andrea.
Oh. Andrea.
Sorry. I
Say-
have to correct you.
Andrea
Thank
spelled
you.
like Andrea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, and we get an introduction to her as she's getting off the bus, which comes into play later. So you'll,
Okay.
just so you know,
Keep
that.
an eye out for
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, she's obviously really smart, and that's our first introduction to Andrea.
So then we find out that it flashes to like Brandon going into the wherever it is that they're typing up the school newspaper, where
Blaze.
they have a whole room just for the school
An
newspaper.
entire room.
Yeah.
It's like
Plus.
it's a real production.
Yeah. So this is like no joke. I never had a school newspaper. Like, we had the yearbook. We had a
Really?
class for yearbook. Yeah. Never had a school newspaper. But
So
yearbook, it took all year. And we shared a computer lab with people who were like typing for practice, I guess. I don't know. I
So-
don't even think that's a thing anymore.
So on a serious note, I wanted to write for the paper strictly
Did
because
you?
just strictly because Brandon did.
Funny story. So, from the age of 8 to 18, I wrote for my hometown newspaper.
So maybe you relate a little more to Brandon than you
Only in that sense.
think.
Only in that sense. As we go through the episode, I'm like, I don't understand what this guy's doing. But
Yeah. So then like all this is going on, and then they're all outside
eating lunch.
eating lunch.
Got notes on that too.
Let's hear your notes because I have some specific ones.
So
but-
explain to me why it's a good idea to eat lunch outside in maybe 80-degree weather with birds. But okay, you're eating lunch, but you have the entire freaking buffet outside. Like it's the whole lineup.
There wasn't there?
Yeah. What the hell?
That was weird. So
Like
wait, okay, sorry. You grew up in Texas. It was warm. Did you have food outside?
for
Okay.
lunch?
I just
It
wanted to
doesn't
make sure.
any
Sorry, I had
sense
to
me.
ask somebody. I had to ask one of our
I had to
production
ask.
crew to see if like that is a real thing because I don't
It
think that
doesn't-
doesn't make any sense that shit would be outside.
No.
And I just realized that I didn't even notice. Didn't even take a note on that. I just went
Like
right
there are
on
kids.
by.
So yeah, so you've got 1,800 kids in the school,
And there's a one buffet outside.
one buffet, and they're all lining up to eat lunch. How long is this food sitting outside? Because I'm thinking food safety.
I'm pretty sure people were eating sushi too.
I did not see that.
Could be
But
wrong,
that's
but
messed
I'm
up.
pretty sure
That's
if it
messed
was, that shit shouldn't be sitting outside.
No,
Not that
no. Even if it is in the shade, I don't.
Oh.
And the birds. Have you ever eaten on a beach?
I want to know what this is about with
Is
the
it-
birds. I'm curious because like that never would have crossed my mind because there's picnics. There's plenty of times where people eat outside. I mean, there's patio bars with food.
I can tell you. I can tell you
Bird?
exactly what it is. Senior year of high school, I went to Florida for spring break.
Okay.
First day there, wake up because we're super tired. Wake up, and I said, I'm gonna go get some lunch. Nobody else wanted to get up. I'm like kind of an early riser anyway. Get up, walk myself to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Cost me like $10 for a freaking Big Mac, whatever.
Okay.
And I think to myself, I should go eat lunch on the beach. Big mistake.
Did-
Huge.
Did you get a-
Rodeo Drive reference in case you didn't catch that. I got attacked by seagulls. Ain't nobody want to eat lunch outside on the beach with birds. I had to run into the shower, the outdoor showers. They have outdoor showers on the beach,
Oh.
and I had to run with my Big Mac.
All I'm picturing right now is you in the lake trying to attract seagulls.
Seagulls
which,
to my head. Yeah,
sorry,
well, but
another
that's
story.
well, good. Yeah. I did put food on my head and try to get birds to eat the food off.
Sorry.
But there's a difference between 10 seagulls and 1,500.
Is it
There-
weird that there's no seagulls at all? Were there seagulls in the?
No, it definitely was not a seagull call. It was more like a tweet tweet as opposed to the caw caw.
Interesting.
Keep that in mind.
I thought that's. I don't even know what to say about that thought. I don't know. We're just gonna go with it. Though. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Not where my head went at all. But okay.
So anyway,
So while they're out there, I think Brenda actually sees doesn't Kelly say something about like you don't want to be eating by yourself like that
Yes.
loser over there and points
Yes.
at Brandon, right?
yeah. So
Who was supposed to be the cool one, and this is where the tables now have turned.
yeah, so she doesn't even tell Kelly that
No.
that's her brother. She sees him sitting over there eating
Says
lunch by himself out of a
nothing.
paper bag. So obviously he didn't get the buffet. He's smarter than we thought. And he's sitting there eating lunch, and then they walk by, and Brenda's like,
You're right. She
don't
doesn't
know
say
you.
anything.
I don't know you.
Which
I
then
don't know.
like
Who's that loser?
Which then later at the party she does acknowledge him.
Which is weird. Yeah, because Kelly says, who are you
Yeah.
waving at? And she's
Who-
like, oh, my brother.
Oh, my brother. Who,
and then
who-
Kelly doesn't even think it's weird.
Yeah, like there's no mention of, well, didn't we see him eating by himself and you didn't say anything?
You were an asshole? Like, you didn't, yeah.
Asshole.
So, yeah, okay.
Sharp word.
So, and
Anyway,
it's exactly
yeah.
what she asked him not to do, was leave her alone. And she did
And
it to him.
she did it to him. big
Exactly.
time. It just shows what kind of a person she really is. And Brandon is not that way.
And
He's
then
a saint.
Brenda says that she had a lot of great friends in Minneapolis, which I find interesting.
Yeah, because she claimed
Because
she didn't.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
But about that, super fast, because we're in cold weather and we can relate, Brenda also says to Kelly, you can eat as much food as you want and hide it under bulky sweaters in Minneapolis when it's cold out.
Yeah.
That was the most that I've related to anybody ever in anything. I was like, oh, dang, I think I found my person. I totally get that.
Yeah, people in LA don't have winter bodies.
No. So in case you didn't know, it gets cold. We wear thick stuff. And we hide our...
Yeah, we eat comfort food.
Absolutely. Hibernation at its finest.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then during this whole process, I thought it was hilarious that the plane flew overhead. Not just one. But
two planes.
2 planes. We couldn't just put it all on one sign, but the sign goes past with the address to the first party of the year.
Yeah.
And then another plane flies over that says no freshmen, which I thought was hilarious because I'm like, what if they missed the no freshmen?
You know how I got invited to parties in high school?
How?
People would walk by and they'd say, hey, did you hear that so-and-so is having a party this weekend?
Yeah, and you were 3 when this came out.
So
yeah, there was
fast forward.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. I mean, it's
14
not like, and granted, we're in Michigan, so
maybe that's just how word travels in Michigan. I don't know. Pony Express. Invite got lost.
If there's anyone listening out there that came from Means and lived in, say, California, like if one of the real OC cast is listening to this right now, did you guys do that shit? Is there a fucking plane that flew overhead with an invite to a party? Because I don't think it actually fucking happens.
Because I'll tell you what, like to this day, I'm almost 34 years old. I get excited when I see a blimp advertising a car lot and I'm going down the highway. So can you imagine if you got invited to a party that way?
My thing is, how do they know who's seeing that? That fucking plane is up in the air. It's not like only the high school can see that. Like Bob that lives down the street from the high school, who's a pedophile, can see the fucking plane and is like, oh shit.
You have to remain a certain amount of miles away, but the plane flying back to wherever its home base is.
Matthew McConaughey, yeah, he's
pedophiles. No freshmen. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it didn't take off
Bob's
from the.
Not PC. It's Chester.
Sorry, Chester. Sorry.
Chester's PC. That guy.
Chester. Sorry. Like the plane. You're right. The plane didn't take off from the high school parking lot. It had to fly from an airport, which means that everybody that saw that fucking plane knew about the party and could have shown up.
I don't get it. But we find out that they're going to Mary Ann's house.
Yes.
And she specifically says no freshmen.
Specifically,
apparently freshmen suck. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kelly says her house is so big that you need a map to get around it because of how rich her family is. And Kelly and Brenda then make plans to go together.
Yeah. Yeah, so they go together, which I think is hilarious because then Brandon at some point goes, well, what time should we go to the party? And she goes, well, I'm going with my friends.
Sorry.
She already has friends. Like she's like, I'm going with my BFFs. And I got my friends.
This is what I find interesting about this whole dynamic is, so Brandon says, is it Brandon or Brendan? Brandon?
Brandon.
Okay.
See,
obviously I didn't watch the show. So Brandon says, oh, no big deal. Shrugs it off. No skin off my nose. But I feel not knowing anything about this, if the roles were reversed and it was Brenda,
Oh, this would
she
be
would, yeah, it would be a huge deal. It would be a huge deal.
because Brandon's an amazing person and a saint. He would have brought his sister with him for sure. Like he wouldn't have, if he had friends, he would have brought her along. He wouldn't have.
I
ditched
gotta
her.
say, I'm not a
She
huge
ditched
Brenda
her.
fan.
No,
I'm not.
no.
I mean, being like grown up now, I don't think I would have liked Brenda so
It was
much.
kind of a dick move.
Kinda.
Yeah.
She sucks.
And then so they get to the party. Well, let's talk about she gets picked up by Kelly, and
The mom comes out
yeah, mom comes out.
and says 12,
That was
12 o'clock curfew.
so
And
terrible.
everyone's like, nobody has a curfew there. Nobody.
Nobody apparently. Which I can relate to that because I had a stupid, ridiculous curfew.
What time was your curfew?
Oh, God, it was like 10:30 or 11. Like my parents had this stupid ass curfew, and I'm like,
Really?
yeah, I'm like, Mom, the parties don't even start until then. And they're like, well, what do you mean they don't start until then? I'm like, no, they really don't start. Like if I show up at 9, I'm the only person there.
You're the guy bringing snacks and helping set up.
Right, like I'm setting up, and then by the time it really gets going and everybody's having fun, I gotta leave and be a douche, and I'm pissed about it. And like the girl that I was planning on meeting at the party isn't even there yet. Fuck off, Mom. Thanks for the curfew.
So the way that we always did it was I'm staying at my friend's house and then we'd actually go to a party. So
Yes, I learned
somebody
that.
always had-
I learned that rather quickly. So that was definitely the tactic I employed, which Brenda does not. She says
well, Brenda's kind of an idiot.
She
I'm
is.
just gonna be honest.
she
about
just
that.
says, "Well, Mom, nobody has curfews," and then just leaves.
Okay.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And then Brandon just, of course, meets up with Steve as he's pulling into the party.
Yeah, and then jumps in his car so they can drive up the driveway
Yeah, I'm like, where did Brandon park?
as Steve is honking at people to get out of the way. So again, Steve's driving like an idiot. And yeah, like, well, yeah, how did Brandon get there? And well, I guess if you have 1,800 kids that go to the high school and you invite everybody in the tri-state area, it's
He may have ran over Chester. We don't know.
really, maybe that's why he didn't show up.
Maybe. And then we get to the party, and there's an entire like whole scene of showing the party. It was again very long. It was kind of like the high school, everyone showing up to high school. So it was like, let's show how cool this party is. There's a weird band.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
The band
I don't
made,
even know what kind of music that was. Was
the
it
band
rock?
made no sense.
It didn't.
Like I don't know what they were playing
It
exactly.
wasn't dancing music.
No, and it wasn't.
It didn't. That was not the kind of music that told me happy vibes.
I'm
Get
trying
up
to remember
and
back to the
dance.
90s too, and I'm like, no, that's not music I know. Like anybody listened to.
You know what that band reminded me of? Have you ever seen that movie Euro Trip?
No,
You've never seen the movie Euro Trip?
I don't think I have.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to watch it at some point.
The neighbors have.
Watch Euro Trip
Yeah.
and the rap band that's at the beginning. Scotty didn't know that Fiona and me. Okay,
It's on Amazon Prime for free right now.
all right, there you go.
There you go. Plug. No, so like I don't know what this band was doing because I don't remember at that. I may need to go back and just see if I don't remember correctly, but I don't remember any music like that. And the band made no sense. Like one of the guys looked like the dude that they were questioning his wardrobe on. I think he was like all leathered up. The other guy looked preppier. Like the drummer was different. Like at some point,
Didn't make
at
any
some point, the one guy like they end the song and they throw shit down. The guy jumps on the drums and they're like apparently a punk band. I don't know what's going on. It didn't make any sense,
It didn't.
especially for that party.
didn't.
Like it
Yeah.
just didn't make any
I
sense. And
literally
everybody's
have-
dancing and the music didn't match. Like,
Rock band at the party is my note.
Yeah,
That's
it-
exactly what
It made no. Mine just said. So my notes for the party say live band and dancing waiter. Because there's a waiter as they're doing their whole thing. They're panning through the whole party, and it's just again ridiculous because everybody, of course, is good looking, can dance, blah blah blah. Just a quick disclaimer: I love the show. This episode was terrible. I'm gonna shit on it. they show there's waiters at this party, and the one waiter is dancing. He's like, woo, and he spins around and is like handing
Without dropping anything.
I'm not even sure there was anything on his platter. There might have been like 2 like appetizers.
So like if he was a girl, he would have gotten hired at Hooters.
Maybe.
Just a thought.
But it was just so like I just remember seeing that. I'm like, really? A dancing waiter? Did we have to go with the dancing waiter? Like, it's bad enough that we have waiters at a high school party.
I will say some of my
Walking
favorite
around-
movies though have dancing waiters. My Best Friend's Wedding, dancing lobsters in the background.
That movie's terrible. God damn it. So the other thing I noticed, this was the other note that I had about the party. Well, not the only note, but the one that I thought, since we've talked about outfits, we talk about Steve's outfit.
I did not even take notice of Steve's outfit.
Oh boy. Steve shows up to the party. He is wearing a black dress jacket, like a suit jacket, with a white shirt, white shorts, a belt, high tops, and tall white socks, kind of scrunched into the white, like almost like leg warmers into the.
Steve needs to find a better
And
wardrobe
I noticed there were
specialist.
other people also in similar outfits like that, but
And nobody, like, you don't remember anybody wearing things like that?
no, never. I just never noticed. There were a lot of people with like suit jackets on, and nobody ever. I think David is even wearing one, and no,
He is. And it has pins on it.
it did have pins on it. I don't know why. I don't know what they were. I need to look. Maybe we need to go back to that one. Yeah. I don't even know what's going on there. Let's talk about Brandon and Marianne meeting.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Awkward. So they
Very
both
awkward.
just happen to be, Brandon walks off and he sees a beautiful girl sitting there by herself on the swing.
Because Brandon's kind of feeling like a fish out of water at this
Right.
point. Doesn't really fit anywhere. He doesn't know who to talk to. Doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Ends up over here by himself with.
Marianne.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation, and as they're just casually talking, she's like, "Oh yeah, this is my house."
Yeah. How about.
And she says, "And my parents want me to be social." She makes this comment, and I'm like,
I think there's more that comes to this story as this. I think the next episode kind of comes in. So I think there's more to that, but this is setting up the typical Brandon generally as a theme throughout the show meets someone with some sort of struggle and befriends them or becomes the boyfriend or whatever.
maybe I do relate to Brandon.
This is fantastic.
Okay.
But yeah, so I thought it was from knowing the history of the show, I'm like, of course this is who he runs into. But the part that cracked me up is she looks at him and goes, "You're sexy."
Yes.
And he laughs and goes, Thank
you. Not you too. Not you as well.
No, he just says thank you.
And
Which I don't know what I would say if somebody said that to me
as
at that age, especially.
a woman, I don't know if meeting, I struck up conversations with guys at gas stations, and
Would that ever come up? You know what?
You're
kind of
sexy.
You're pretty
never,
sexy.
never, ever, ever in my mind.
Let's just say. Let's just say.
I would never say that to somebody else.
But let's just say you did. What are you expecting the response to be on that? Thank you?
No.
Question mark?
I would hope that it would be like I was thinking the same thing about you, followed.
Yeah, I kind of expected that to be more like, yeah, I was more thinking you, not me. And instead he was like, all right.
Thank you.
He's like, yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. That was weird. It was odd. Yeah, she definitely wasn't happy about throwing the party.
No.
She gives Brandon her number
On his arm.
with lipstick.
And then says, don't lose this.
Don't let it
So
smudge.
do you walk around like this? Because, okay.
And
I'm
pretty sure he had
assuming
long sleeves
that
on, didn't he?
you are not familiar with wearing lipstick. I'm assuming that you probably never do that.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So setting spray probably wasn't super popular back in the day.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, well, it tries to make your makeup stay as much as possible. I can
Okay.
tell you, I use it on a daily basis, and it does not make your makeup stay as much as possible.
So what you're saying?
So you're
light
at a
that-
party with a pool, water, dancing. So I'm assuming people are sweating, and you write your number on his arm with lipstick, and then
Like this big.
don't lose it. So what you're basically saying is you might as well just go home now because
You're-
that's gonna sweat off.
Yeah,
In
you're
like,
fucked.
okay,
Yeah,
so
that
there's
was, I
that.
thought that was odd. Then she just all of a sudden is standing on the
Pool, the diving board.
and like
Everybody in the pool, but she doesn't get in the pool.
Oh no! And there is a small point where she's dancing with the band. The weird band again shows up. I don't know. The whole party was fucking weird.
It was weird.
And then
Was it?
Steve's drunk.
And Steve's drunk. So as he gets ushered out, David, who snuck into the party when he's not supposed to be
Not
there,
supposed to be there. Has lost his friend, by the way, who got bullied
he
and
did.
thrown into the
So
pool.
shitty friend. Shitty
Shitty
friend.
friend. And he's actually mad because his friend ditched him,
Yeah.
even though it's not really the case at all. It was
No.
the other way around.
People need to figure their shit out in this show. That's
Yep.
all I gotta say.
Yep.
Better get better.
Yep.
Better get better. So he gets
Um,
ushered out by this group of guys. And so what are these guys doing? Because it just so happens that David's there and they're like, oh, buddy, here you go. Get the hell out. So you're just gonna send this drunk guy who obviously can't even walk out to his car and say leave.
Honestly, though, it's the first lesson learned in 90210, and I was a little disappointed the pilot didn't really tap into a good lesson because most of the other episodes do. But don't let people drive home drunk, at least.
I'm not gonna say I've never done it. Not gonna say I've never done it, but
happens.
definitely not something that you want to.
No, you don't want to do that. No.
No.
So it was a good lesson learned. Like here's a drunk guy. Here's his car. Here's somebody that he says he knows who looks 12.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
he
let
doesn't even
him-
look old enough to drive.
I'm gonna let him drive him home.
Now I will say I do have a personal story about this. I was not drinking. I was actually doing my makeup, and I let a 14-year-old drive my car so I could apply my makeup.
Okay.
She didn't crash, so we're good.
Did your car go down the driveway and smash into anything afterwards?
It did not. No, but I do find that funny that happened
That is pretty funny.
because Steve, being Steve and thinking he is who he is,
His car is very important.
that, and he drives like an idiot,
And then was mad
and then
because he was too drunk to drive his car home and let a freshman who
Yeah.
doesn't have a license, who told him he didn't have a license.
And this is what I don't understand. So Steve's car, David gets him up out of the driveway, forgets to put the car in park. Car rolls down, hits into another car, and David just leaves because what else do you do? Right.
Yeah, at that point,
Yeah, so he leaves,
the damage is done.
and Steve wakes up the next morning and doesn't even remember who drove him home.
Not even close.
That's how drunk he was.
He was bad.
And honestly, the car ding probably like, was it really that bad compared to what it could have been? No.
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 Can I talk just really quick? As he's driving him home, Kelly and the girls pass by, make fun of the fact that David's driving him home, but then the cop comes up behind him, and for some reason
They put the football helmet
they
on.
put football helmet and pads on David to disguise the fact that he's like, that's not gonna look fucking weird. And he pulls up, and the cop's like looking at him, and he's like, hey. And then the cop just drives off. I'm like, that was way more suspicious than.
Say just having him drive like a
Yeah.
normal. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, people look young.
sorry, I had to
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
deal with that. Anyway, so we're at 55 minutes, so we gotta start. Oh boy. So Brandon really likes Marianne, thinks she's too rich, thinks she won't like him. Steve, they're back at school the next day. Well, no, I'm assuming Monday. Brandon's he's talking to Brenda about it. Marianne's too rich, not gonna like me. Steve's going around school trying to find out who wrecked his car.
Because he doesn't remember who
Because he
drove
has
him home.
no idea. So now,
Hands Brandon says, "Hey, if you find out who this guy is,
yeah,
like, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
give you, yeah."
he's like
Yeah.
got a reward, the whole deal. He's gonna kick his ass. I don't know what his plans are. And then Brenda, Kelly, and Donna have this great thing that they're gonna get fake driver's license and
And go to the club,
the Blue Iguana.
the Blue Iguana,
They're going to the Blue Iguana,
the Blue Iguana.
and
And
Brent-
Kelly's the only one that gets in. Or I'm sorry, Brenda. Brenda's the only one that gets in.
only one that gets in and meets the douchiest guy.
Douchiest.
It's fucking terrible.
Douchiest.
So terrible. And,
And-
she orders a banana daiquiri.
And
which
he
is
says,
so
interesting
fucking-
choice.
This is interesting choice. And I'm like, how do you not know she's in fucking high school? Who orders a banana daiquiri?
Well, and then like the cues that led up to that, where she was like, "Oh, I've got to call my mom."
Oh,
I mean, I've got to call a ride. Like, yeah, because ride and mom sound a lot like. Not saying I have actually called my mom for rides when I was of age to drink.
yeah, but
I mean, all the time I would call my mom.
But in this
and she would come
scenario,
and pick
just-
me up. It did not fit. No, it did not fit. And, but then she gets in. She gets in, and her friends leave her.
oh,
Supposing friends.
that was the other. How the fuck does your friend get in the club and then they don't let you in, and you don't like somehow try to get wait for her
Yeah.
or get her and tell the guy well, can you go? Then they're
Can
just
you just
they
whatever.
just
Yeah.
basically go, oh, okay, and they take
see
off.
you later. Yeah, bye.
I'm like, well, I guess she's gonna have fun by herself. Miss Minneapolis.
Worst
terrible.
friends.
And then that's, basically the end of the episode, right?
That's pretty much it. She meets this guy. Oh, and the guy's
be
obviously
continued.
way older than she is too.
Dude.
He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. She's 16 and he's a lawyer, and they meet at the bar.
Oh, where did she get that outfit from, by the way?
That's Kelly. I'm gonna say Kelly. Kelly must have given
You
her
think
that outfit.
so? Because they didn't say, but there's no way she had
It's gotta
that.
be.
No way she had that outfit.
Well, I will say, like, as a teenage
Right?
girl, and I would go out with my friends, we would switch outfits all the time.
Yeah, I get that.
That's what girls
So
do.
that must be what it is. They never really said. But so bizarre. So anyway, a recap of your thoughts on the pilot.
It was terrible. It was I honestly do not understand how this show made it onto television for how many years? How many seasons do we have to watch of 90210?
There's so many seasons.
I did not learn
How
a
many seasons is it?
single
Google
good
that.
lesson.
I found the Meat Puppets were the band at the house party.
They were the Meat Puppets?
Meat Puppets.
They were
Meat?
actually pretty popular at that
Meat
point.
puppets.
I didn't know that they were the Meat
Meat?
Puppets. Meat.
Meat.
Yeah.
Like bologna.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I mean-
there's that.
Yeah. Baloney. Okay, let me look. 10. Yeah, there's 10, right?
All right.
Yeah. Super fan that I am.
I'm
Yeah,
hoping that
there's
it gets better.
10 seasons of this show. Was I would say probably the most popular show ever.
Well, I am in this.
You're in
Because
this for the long haul.
Well, yeah, and because I like to do random things,
Yeah.
and also because I'm looking for a date. So, there's that. This has got to be the way to find one.
Is there a Brandon out there for Shonda? That's what we need to. Is there a Brandon? We haven't even. Dylan has not even shown up yet. But is there a Brandon out there, or a David Silver, or Steve?
I mean, at this point,
Um.
I'd take a Steve. I'd
Yeah.
totally go out with a Steve. I think.
Yeah.
Poor Steve. He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
So anyway, yeah, that's our take on the pilot. I'm a big fan. The pilot was bad.
It was bad.
I honestly watched the pilot again, and I've watched it multiple times, but it's been a while, and I watched it again, and I can't believe it made it past the pilot either. I was like, this is awful. That being said, it gets so much better. And
Okay,
there's
I-
so many life lessons, Shonda. You are going to be a better person after watching this show, as is, I think, most of the country, because everyone watched it, I'm pretty sure.
I'll take your word for it.
At that time.
I'm giving it a go. I'm giving it a go.
Oh,
As
you
somebody
are.
who has never watched the show, I'm invested.
You are. So, yeah, so that's our first take. We're not set on a name yet.
9021 don't know.
9021 don't know.
9021 don't know.
There's surprisingly a few podcasts out there on this, and so
Is that it?
that might have been the song. Yeah, sorry, Meat Puppets is being played in the background,
And now I've got to go look up the Meat Puppets.
and now we're in trouble.
Because
This is gonna get taken down. All of our sponsors are gonna be like, no. Anyway, that's the end. See you later. We're gonna do the continued episode of the pilot
next week.
Next
Wednesday.
Wednesday. See you guys.